Welcome back, everyone, to the coverage of the Italian Open 2024 in Rome. We are now down to the last two remaining matches to crown our champion, and we have a lot of exciting matches ahead of us, a lot of duelists, a lot of different decks remaining for what was a very diverse tournament and nothing more that you can expect. But we have still a lot of competitors and some big names remaining in competition. Obviously, we saw in the previous round one of the 7-0. We still have 3 of the 7-0s duelists, but what we're gonna feature for this round is table 5. Again, duelists that can finish among the top, and they are an interesting match for sure ahead of us, because if on the one side we have Connor Kelly with your I would say average Snake Eye deck, very solid. I like the deck list quite a bit. It doesn't seem to have, anything too crazy going on. On the other side, not the same thing can be said for Marco Pastore, right?
Yeah, which is not on Despia, because like usually he's been playing Despia, I think, for the last 2 years. He's on pure Melodious, so it's...
Absolutely. Not quite the Bangulus, but he's playing a full Melodious deck. We have seen some of this previously, but it was obviously mixed with different engines, and in particular with Voiceless Voice. In this case, it's a completely different deck, similar for anyone who catched it at the Greek Open to more of a control deck, very sneaky. A lot of effects in the fusions that, for example, prevent them from being targeted or from being destroyed by battle. So you really need to read carefully, and we know that that is at times quite difficult. So without further ado, though, our players are ready. So let's find out who will be the winner of round 8. And here they are. Let's take a look at who is gonna go first. Definitely the unconventional. As you mentioned, Marco having a pretty good season as of lately and still sticking to a fusion-based deck. So it seems to be in love with that extra deck type of monsters. Okay, and a great way to start things off with this Pot of Prosperity. Lot of really good cards. One of them, for example, First Movement Solo is really what you're looking for at the moment. Let's see if he can pick it up. Condition for a lot of these cards is to not control any monsters. So it's a great way to start the duel. And we see an Ash, quite a risky one. If there is a way, for example, an Ostinato. And I think Marco is really excited by the way he moves. So maybe he does have a really good hand. So let's see. Okay, he's gonna switch over as he's a lefty, so it is the First Movement Solo, so a bait Pot of Prosperity that his opponent fell for, and now he's gonna get quite punished. Let's see if there is other response. I think he's gonna ask for a few translations, possibly, but the deck is not too known, and as you can see, our judge is just explaining the effects to it, but the Refrain is actually a really, really good card. It gets the engine going. You can get any Melodious deck from your deck to end, any monster. And we have seen plenty of times already the way that the deck can perform. Fusion summoning, using cards in your scale, and then, doing a bit. But mostly we saw it as a collateral engine, let's say, in the Voiceless deck. This time around, it's a pure Melodious one, and I'm really curious to see which direction Marco has decided to go for.
And also, I really like the way that basically Marco started things off with the Prosperity right away, right? Especially because maybe you're hoping that your opponent activates the Ash Blossom right on the Pot of Prosperity, but like his hand looks very promising, especially because now he starts with the Couplet, taking another spell from his deck.
Yep. Again, quite a few different options, but this is the one copy of Concerto, the card we mentioned that allows you to fusion summon even using cards in your Pendulum zone, and this is exactly what's happening right here. And yep, we do resolve it. Great news. Doesn't seem like Connor Kelly has a response at the moment. Let's see. He's now debating whether to respond, but nope. And for, again, anyone not too familiar, the deck has access to a really strong link monster in the Melodious Composer, which usually is where you try and aim your, Impermanence or Veiler if you can. But let's see how familiar his opponent is with this strategy. And now we see one of the one-offs.
La maestra.
Shopina, La Maestra. So as you can see here, getting an option to just recover a light monster from grave. And the great thing about the deck is it mostly fairy monsters, and you can get to the heralds, for example. And this is exactly what's going on. Avesha. Okay, and we follow through with a normal summon from Marco. Is there going to be a response from his opponent? Doesn't seem like that's the case. So Soprano, the Melodious Songstress, gets to resolve. And the situation is looking quite comfortable for our Melodious, who gets to summon Magnificat Bude. Let's see if there is a response. This is what we have been talking about quite a bit. When your opponent is not familiar with your deck, you can get so ahead. Even if, maybe the power level is not quite up there, it more than fills the gap. And this is what maybe has been happening all day for Marco. I doubt many players were familiar with a complete pure Melodious deck, thanks to obviously some of the cards released in Legacy of Destruction, such as the Melodious Concerto.
And I really like the Magnificat being on the field, right? Because the first effect is crazy. Basically, it's a quick effect. Yeah. And you can banish any number of Melodious monsters you control to return basically as many as cards your opponent controls from your hand. So it's very powerful.
And now play is back to Connor. Picks up a card. I think he had and was holding Anibiru. And now
for the next game,
kinda sure on what action to take. He doesn't seem too happy, and he just picks up his cards. Game 1 goes to Marco and his Melodious deck. What a opening and what a turn. Wow. For the non-believers, here is the deck from Marco. Only one game away from advancing to a 7-1 incredible score. And yeah, I mean, it's a deck that definitely can do a lot. It is full of power spells, but what I liked the most was that bait with the Prosperity. He didn't need it. His opponent immediately goes for it. I don't completely blame him. You don't even know what you're up against, and they go for Prosperity for 6. You do often smell weakness, and you go for it. Sometimes it works. In this case, it didn't. And game 1 just goes to Marco. Really good, really well piloted. And now, I think, I mean, obviously Connor is gonna go first, try to do his usual stuff, but what do you think he's even gonna do in his side deck? Is he familiar? It didn't seem too familiar with the deck. He has an interesting tech in his side, the first time we have seen it all weekend, and that is Simul Archfiends. It is somewhat of a similar card to Dimensional Barrier. The effect is, I would say, slightly weaker, but it also affects Link monsters. Essentially what it says is that neither player can special summon monsters with the same card type that they already control. So you need to slow down a little bit, but it can be quite devastating if he calls, for example, against fusions once one of them hits the field for Marco. So maybe we could see that come in, but outside of that, I think he's probably just gonna rely on his main deck combos, hoping that they get him there. And this is the beauty of the deck from Marco. He knows how to play against Snake Eye, I'm sure, and you can tell from his side decks, from cards such as, Nibiru, and even cross out 4-dimensional barrier, which I like.
Yeah.
A really, subtle choice. We don't have red rebute, so we find a really nice way to fight back in this, and I like it. But let's see if the deck can perform while going second as well. Worst case scenario, we're gonna see some Melodious combo in game 3. Our duelists are ready. Let's find out who will be the winner of game 2. Here they are. Connor going first. Takes a look at his hand and start things off with a wanted, most likely in the draw phase. And Marco is considering it, but no, allows it. So for now, we're just gonna see the Diabell Star heading to the end. And let's see what he's gonna follow this up with. Okay, Flamberge is one of the cards that's been discarded, and now it gets to resolve. As you can see, very friendly atmospheres, both having a little bit of a laugh. And okay, just gonna go for it straight away. Is there gonna be an Ash? Not quite. Good news for Connor, who now gets to use the Ash and also will have a potential draw later on. So yeah, it doesn't seem like Marco just wants to interact at all. He's playing a lot of interruptions, actually. So I'm a little bit surprised that we are not seeing any of them.
Yeah, he has a...
Yeah, just in the main deck, he has 16 entraps. And he followed that up with 5 more in the side deck. So potentially half of his decks being interruptions.
Yeah, I will be surprised if there's none in his hand, but I mean, we will soon find out. Maybe a Nibiru, I don't know. Like,
yeah, that's still there, but I mean, it's gonna be up to Connor, and it's important to mention he's playing, as mentioned, pretty straightforward list. Also aimed at the mirror. He's maining 3 crossout, so he has ways to play around his opponent interruptions. And here we see one of the tech cards, so not played by a lot, and again, coming from Legacy of Destruction. Usually we only get to see, one of the Diabell Star, but in this case it's Snake Eye Diabell Star, which is another interesting extender, and allows you to go for a very powerful extra deck option in number 38. And I really like this idea from Connor, because we have seen how powerful the spells are for Marco's deck. So pretty good in, improvising maybe a different combo.
yeah, it's a very nice addition. I think it's gives you a really like a very good option, and number 38 as well is very very difficult to play against. So it's here. Connor still continues with his combo.
Yeah, he gets the second copy of the Flamberge, and as usual, gonna get to extend. And this is the other monster which you usually XYZ with. But for now, I think Marco might have a think. No, not quite. So it seems like Connor still is free to do whatever he wants. As mentioned, also playing no synchros in his build. Seems like that was the direction that most of our duelists took, or at least those that we got to future. None of them have been playing the Dispater Omega line. Maybe too risky when there are so many interruptions around. Oh, and after a long think, Ita is the play, and 2 of these Snake Eye monsters are summoned back from graveyard. Again, debating on his opening combo. Sometimes, I mean, the goal could be an Appaloosa plus number 38, which also can create a nice idea, because number 38 does negate spells. but it also has a cheeky second effect where it can redirect attacks, and then you can use it to protect your Appaloosa sometimes, or like something along those lines, let's say. For now, though, it's just gonna extend some plays, go for Celine, and now Marco is gonna have a think. So you might be onto something about the Nibiru. And nope,
No.
he's still
Okay.
good. So allows his opponent to keep going. And now we see the Appaloosa. And yeah, gets to summon. So now Nibiru is not really an option anymore. And we can continue to just play this duel. Let's see whether Connor can get to this number 38. He still has a few cards to uncover. Yep, and as expected here, we do go for the line that was expected. The Flamberge getting back to the spell and trap zone.
Yeah, no interruptions from Marco, which is very unfortunate because,
Yeah,
here-
it's weird.
Yeah.
A little bit weird.
yeah. I mean, a lot of hand traps in his deck.
Okay. We add the art drone oak, and this just gives you everything you need. As you can see here, we can directly go afterwards into the princess if that's the line he wants to go for. Yeah, makes sense. And now we get back to Mascherena. Yeah. Usual stuff. What do you think about this opening? Could it be enough to step, and stop, the melodious action?
I mean, like, if he really can get his hand on the number 38, that will be good. But I don't think that that's the case, honestly, because, I mean, yeah, you have the Appaloosa, you have the Mascherena, which you can bring on the field, but, it's, I mean, yeah, 2 sets card, maybe up.
Yeah, the sets are the scariest part. He couldn't quite perform his combo.
Yeah.
As you can see, something went wrong along the lines, and also is gonna draw at the very end. Maybe he just now remembered that that was in the graveyard as an option, because obviously he would have set the cards afterwards. And let's see if the drone card will be a relevant one, because maybe that would have changed his plans. But no, play is back to Marco. So these two face down. Maybe one of them could be that Simul Archfiend, which we mentioned. Otherwise, we might go directly back into game 3, but Marco has so many good options. The one thing I'm worried about is with playing so many unchops, maybe the chance of that being the 6th card is very high if you haven't drawn any. And that means you just play with 5 cards at this point. But we do start things off again with the bait from game 1, Pot of Prosperity. Great, great card in game 2.
We'll see if he drew into an Ash Blossom, but,
Gonna go for 6, probably no response. And there are a lot of good cards that he can pick up. And his opponent says, that's fine. Let's take a look at this. Options. A lot of engine cards, a lot of interruptions as expected, and an impermanence. Impermanence is actually interesting, honestly. On the Appaloosa, it could work. Worst case scenario if you don't need your Melodious monsters. And yeah, I think he's taking it. Fair enough. And yeah, in a new chain, I think. No, okay, Connor allows it, and we are just gonna see the impermanence on the Appaloosa. Makes sense again. Ooh, but a nice response. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Marco was looking for Dark Ruler no more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's citing 3 copies of Dark Ruler, and those would be amazing. Impermanence was okay, but as you can see here, ended up just forcing out the cross out.
Because this cross out hurts actually.
It's quite big. And let's see if there is still chance. First movement solo again. It's a great card, but not quite as impactful when you go second. This could just force out a negation. And what's relevant to mention is that this Phoenix, which looks a little out of place, is actually super relevant because when co-linked with the Appaloosa, it makes it so that the monsters cannot be destroyed by battle. So your opponent cannot just attack over your Appaloosa easily. And yeah, let's see now if he can move forward. Okay, gonna activate as pendulum scale the couplet. And then gonna go and have a extender from the end with the refrain, normal summoned, and an hard drawn. It's him, one copy of Melodious Concerto. Oof, but this hurts quite a bit. Okay, good catch. Cosmic Cyclone, ask Melodious Concerto, can fusion summon from the Pendulum Zone. This Cosmic is chained, preventing this fusion, and now Marco is gonna be forced to continue. And fusion summon one from end, it seems. Pretty much short of options with Appaloosa having 2 negations. What's important to mention is that Aria is an amazing card because Aria says that your Melodious monsters cannot be targeted by effects or destroyed by battle. That is the sneaky part of the deck I was mentioning. And when you are not sure about it, you really need to be careful. Also, when you declare, for example, an effect, you know, it can be quite scary because it's usually, I mean, kind of an extender, but instead it has this important protection effect. And yeah, Pasha, it's the field.
Yeah, Marco having a thought, honestly. It's not easy, but trying his way. Let's see if he can deal with the Appaloosa plus the Masquerena, but
and yeah, now he gets to access the copy of Soprano, just like in the previous game. And this is where Connor says, wait a second, I'm gonna try and prevent it with the Masquerena. Finally stepping into action. Prince is still in graveyard, as a reminder. But again, keep in mind, you cannot target these cards with the SP, and this could be where this is actually quite relevant, but obviously this applies to Melodious monsters you control, and this is, I guess, a good spot then by Connor, who targeted the Pendulum Zone, it seemed. And yeah, now activates and summons back 2 monsters with the Flamberge.
Yeah, good catch here from Connor.
Gonna get a lot of recursion for next turn. As you can see here, one from the Oak, one from Ash, and one from Poplar. A lot of advantage, and this is obviously the power of the deck, which we have seen plenty of times in the past. Let's see whether he can keep this up. Also summoning the SP in a zone where it is co-linked to the Phoenix. So that is also relevant in terms of protection. And yeah, this seems like it will be closer than expected at the end of the day. But can Marco keep this up? Can he keep some pressure? The problem is once he commits to a link summon, he needs to be careful, and he does so by keeping the area so that his targeting, protection is still there. And this is finally the first time that we see this amazing card in action, the Composer. The problem is that I don't think he has anything to discard.
No, he doesn't have any cards in hand, right?
Yeah, because it's special summon two monsters from deck potentially, but you need to discard a card. And yeah, for now he's just explaining to his opponent some of these actions and what he's gonna go for.
Yeah, without having the card to discard, he can't special summon basically the two Melodious monsters. Yeah. Yeah, maybe they're asking for some translation.
Yeah, as you can see,
exactly.
asking for a little bit of a translation. As you could have guessed from his name, Connor Kelly is not quite your average Italian name, and he needs some translation to English, as fair enough. And yeah, the deck is also not as popular as other options. So
yeah, because basically when the Basha goes to the graveyard, you get to special summon one Melodious monster. Yeah.
And yeah, here is where I guess on purpose or not, we cannot be quite sure about, but it could make sense. Connor goes for the SP, could not target a card his opponent control, and therefore he's gonna banish his own monster. And yeah, now again back to Marco, who performs yet a final fusion into another of his Melodious Maestra. And I think his opponent might be down on some of these responses, but can Marco fight back? As you can see, he's really debating. He's really trying to figure out whether he has a way.
Yeah, I mean, still, I think Marco is trying to navigate this complicated field, you know, from Connor. It's not easy, but you know, he's trying his best. I think he's entering battle phase.
Entering battle phase. Obviously, very experienced, do a lot of YCS national top cap finishes. Would be shocked if you forget about the Phoenix protection, and that's why, as you can see, he's just attacking over the Ash. Yeah, and as you can see now, keeps going. Just attacked over, dealt some damage to Connor. And yeah, now he's gonna target up to 3 cards, as you can see in the graveyard with his fusion. But yeah, it seems like the turn will be over here. Marco couldn't quite keep up and break this field. Passes back, so SP and Oak are back. And this seems like it will be not that difficult for Connor to fight back.
That's it.
Zelantis coming to just punish everything and come back. And yeah, he's trying to show and go back, figuring out some of the different zones in which the monsters are gonna be summoned. And yeah, the great thing is now that the protection from Arya is gone, Connor can just do so much. He has access to his regular combos, and his extra deck is looking like, yeah, I can get him there easily.
Yeah, just some explanation here, and it's looking promising for Connor. They play very well, and with the Zelantis here, let's see if he manages somehow to seal the game right here. Nothing that Marco basically can do at the moment. He's left with no cards in hand as well. And yeah, I mean, once again, Connor just wants to make sure that, you know, he knows every single card's effect from his opponent. And yeah, with the, now he's using the Zelantis.
And yeah, as you can see here, this seems like it will be more than enough. And yeah, the play is enough. As expected, Connor, just a little bit of, you know, language barrier, we could say. They were trying to communicate whether everything was clear, but it was. And now the score is tied 1-1. We are going yet again to game 3 as our competition is getting tougher and tougher. Only one of these two duelists can advance with a 7-1 record, trying to get a top 4 or higher finish at the Italian Open. And it is down to one last game, and it will be Marco Pastore with this Melodious deck going first in game 3.
Yeah, I mean, it was very well played by Connor overall, and I mean, Marco's end was not promising. He didn't have any sort of interruption to stop Connor, and I mean, in the end, I think that it was very difficult to deal with that field, and especially because there was the Cross-Talk Designator and the Cosmic Cyclone as well. And now entering into this game 3, yeah, I mean, Marco has quite a different options. He can side in the Cross-Talk Designators on his own if he really feels like. And yeah, I think the pressure is on Connor, because basically we saw that he's not super familiar with the deck, but still has some solution that may give him the win in this match. Yeah. Still, I think that this is very tight, and you know, this win could be crucial for both of our players advancing into the tournament, into the last round of our Italian Open. And yeah, still, I think that the Melodious deck that has been recently, you know, released is very, very powerful, and I really like the pure version that Marco is playing. It's consistent, and he can afford to play a lot of different hand traps, and the engine of the deck itself. I mean, we have said this before. It's just one card alone does so much, and yeah, there's the Ostinato, which is an incredible card, which is like some sort of branded fusion.
Yeah, I think on the other end, Connor has learned a lot about this deck in these 2 games, and it is over 30 minutes that he has been playing against the deck. And if he gets his hand on another copy of Ash Blossom, I'm really curious to see whether now he would use it as in game 1 again on Prosperity, or whether he would hold it for one of these, you know, first movement solo, because we still haven't seen the Ostinato, by the way. And it's arguably the strongest card in the deck, as it's pretty much, you know, kind of like branded fusion for the deck. So without further ado, our duelists are almost done shuffling up. Only one of them, again, can advance with a 7-1 score. Let's find out who it's gonna be. Here they are. Crucial 5-card drawn. Can Marco go for one of his combos? He start things off. And this time around, finally gets the Ostinato, but he's met with an Ash Blossom. Does he have something else? He does. It's the first movement soul, and what a end by the Italian player. Wow.
This is huge, because, you know, he was prepared if an Ash Blossom would have been there, and For the first movement now, he gets on the field to refrain, and I think he will most likely be very confident because I think he was expecting the ash to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. At the same time,
Wow.
we do get to see a draw and lock next to it. 2 copies only in the deck for Connor. And he gets 1 when it matters the most. Again, Legacy of Destruction tool in what is Melodious Concerto, allowing you to fusion summon a card from your Pendulum Zone as well. And let's see.
Here once again, he brings up on the field Maestra.
Obviously, the impact is a little bit limited, but as you can see here, Chopina can get a card back from the grave. So that is allowed under Drawn and Lock. And now we get finally to see yet again another huge push in what is Pergattaccio, the Bude Magnificat. So let's see. Solid play, still under Drawn and Lock, showing obviously what the deck can do. I don't blame Connor. I think you see a lot of cards being added. You just side in the draw. And Marco, though, is showing us that the deck can totally play still under this. Finally ends his turn, and now it's all up to Connor. Only 4 cards in hand as he has used 2 interruptions. Can he make it start things off with a Popular? Not quite the best normal summon, let's say. Let's see if it will be enough. Couple of interruptions. And there are also 10 minutes remaining on the round, which is going to be quite relevant to keep in mind as the previous round has ended in time. And obviously, when duels get more and more intense, that tends to happen more frequently. It's tough, especially playing on stream. Always brings the pressure. Always, brings a more level of difficulty. Let's see if Connor finds the way to stay in this.
Yeah, he's thinking about it, but yeah, not an easy position for Connor, especially because he really needs to think how to deal with.
Yeah, and that is still, kind of a sign of maybe not weak, but kind of on the weak side of the ends of the Snake Eye deck. Anima is there, obviously well played by Marco, but it's kind of a formality at this point. Positioning around Anima. And we do get to see another, card that has been there. Is there a response to the origin? Marco is thinking about it. Nope. Gonna allow it. And this is the push Connor needs. Gonna get the Ash. Again, another chance for the Italian to respond. And it's an effect Veiler trying to shut down Connor.
Yeah, I think he was very patient with the effect Veiler as well.
Yeah,
right? So
could have gone directly on the Poplar, maybe. But for now, he has been patient. He's taking his time. And yeah, this is getting tense with only 8 minutes remaining. He needs to find a way to break through here, and he's gonna go for a Link Summon. Which one is it gonna be? It's just the SP trying to force out a response from Marco, most likely. But he's actually gonna go for a pendulum zone. Wow. Let's see. Trying to hit the couplet right now. And it resolves. What's next for Connor? This is the deciding moment. Does he have something else to continue pushing here? Only one card in hand, it seemed. But he's just going to enter the battle phase and try to attack over the Magnificat. Let's take a look. Obviously, very tense situation. There is also a chance that this ends in a draw, which I'm not sure would... I mean, it would be the end of the world, but obviously it would mean that none of these players could end up being the winner of the event. Let's see. And here they're having a think on Marco's side. And yeah,
okay. He used the effect.
A whole lot of clearing here. That this means that Connor fails to deal any damage, but at least the Ash Blossom is gonna prevent, as you can see here, both monsters coming back. And now one more draw, apparently. Essentially what happened here is that he probably used the Magnificat, which has a similar effect to that of the SP, to, you know, just banish his entire field and protect it. But yeah, now they're just clarifying the whole situation. It gets to resolve, and now one draw for Marco. Little more than 5 minutes remaining. Can he just find the push? It doesn't seem that it would take that much. He can surely easily get ahead in life, just like switching to attack, as you can see here. But can he do anything more? Yeah, and he does. So just attacks over. He's ahead in life, looking in an amazing, amazing position. And most importantly, as you can see, the handshake coming down. Melodious advancing with a 7-1 record. What a match from Marco. What a win. Let's go back to us. Wow. Again, another deck winning this weekend, which we didn't see perform as well. Obviously, we had some hints here and there. We saw the Melodious card perform really well in the Voiceless deck, which impressed us earlier on today. But Marco, the fusion god at this point.
No, I mean, yeah, like it's always piloting, you know, these crazy combo decks, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's working out very well, especially because like in this kind of matchup, I think it was not easy going into this game 3, and then in the end, I mean, like Ash Blossom and Jolly Lock were there, right? I mean, yeah. I mean, good job.
That was tough. On the other hand, once again, probably too many, you know, interruptions on Connor's side. If he just had a little more access to the Snake Eye Double Star package, he could have tried out a little bit more, just like we saw in Game 2. But overall, the deck seemed to work out. It's very consistent. Especially going first, it's hard to stop, because a lot of those cards which you have witnessed compare, for example, to a branded deck, but they are similar in that Ostinato is not once per turn.
Yeah.
If it gets Ash Blossom, you can just activate a second copy right away. The only condition is not controlling any monsters. And alongside with the first movement solo and the new card from Legacy of Destruction, the Concerto, you can just have a lot of consistencies in these combos. And once again, though, I think when you play a deck that your opponent is not familiar with, that's the most important thing. So we'll see whether across national season it will still remain relevant, but it is today, and Marco advances with an incredible 7-1 score. And now we are down just to one last match remaining to crown the Italian Open Champion 2024 in Rome. So guys, please don't go anywhere, because we'll be on a break, but then we'll be back with round 9 and to find out the winner. Keep watching.